Now then, you might recognise our next guest from the hit reality show Made in Chelsea.
And in the brand new series, Sam Vanderpump shared the exciting news that he and model Alice Yaxley are engaged and expecting their first child.
Congratulations. It's really, really lovely.
Thank you.
The joy, of course, of that was soon followed by heartbreak when Sam, who's only 28 years old, revealed that he's been diagnosed with advanced liver failure after initially thinking it was simply flu.
We had a call from the doctors and I've got end-stage liver disease. There is no hope of my liver getting better. And he said, I wouldn't be having this call with you if I thought you could make it through the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, Sam and Alice are both here now to share their story, along with Dr Nighat as well. Good morning to you all. Good morning. So, Sam, let's start, first of all, with you. You were diagnosed with a liver condition when you were really young, when you were like 4 or something like that?
Yeah, nailed on the head. I diagnosed at the age of 4 with a genetic disease, congenital hepatic fibrosis. Funny enough, my mum spotted it because I was lined up against the other kids in the swimming pool and my tummy was a lot bigger than the rest. So I looked like I had really skinny arms and a big belly, and through a series of testing, they worked out that I had congenital hepatic fibrosis. But over the years, you know, they always said, you potentially may need a liver transplant, and we went through a lot of testing, a lot of appointments. But as the years went on, they went, you're healthy, you're fine, live your life normally. And so much to the point, even in like a year just before I got sepsis, they were saying, oh, we only need to see you every year and, you know, live your life normally. And then all of a sudden got quite ill last year with sepsis and things took a bit of a turn.
So you were, I mean, it was last December when things escalated, but you thought initially it was just flu?
Yeah, literally thought it was flu. And then I think it was only a point where I was extremely dehydrated. I drank about 1 litre of water. We went Christmas shopping in Selfridges or Harrods.
That'll do it.
Yeah. And and I was extremely dehydrated and went through 1 litre of water. And I went to Alice, I just can't quench my thirst. Went home, and I think I ended up sleeping for 2 days. And Alice thought I was overdosing on codeine, just taking too much. And it wasn't until, I think, 2 days later where you realise that I just wasn't right, and I was meant to be going to Dubai for work, didn't end up going, and they got me into hospital, and they sort of turned around and went, yeah, your organs are going into failure.
That must have been terrifying, Alice, from your perspective.
Yeah, it was very scary. It was difficult at the time knowing what was going on. I feel like even doctors, when we'd been to the hospital in the previous weeks, weren't entirely sure what was happening, and I think you could mistake those symptoms for things that are obviously a lot less mild as well.
So when did they first start to establish what was going on? Because I think there was quite a difficult period of time where it was kind of backwards and forwards, and you were finding it very hard to actually get a diagnosis.
Yeah, spot on. I think what happens is they get your blood results and they see everything's going wrong. And yes, they knew my diagnosis, my disease, but I think they have to go through a thing of ruling everything out before they associate it to my disease. So they just flooded my body with the strongest antibiotics they could find. They said it was literally like using an industrial cleaner on me. So much to the point, you know, I finally got better after 48 hours. I started to respond. And they said it was touch and go at one point. You know, it was very close to, if I'd got into hospital 24 hours later, I wouldn't have made it. But luckily, you know, I did respond and I was out. I had a few more reinfections since, but, you know, progressively got a lot better. And then all of a sudden, it was only about 10, 12 weeks ago now, just got a notification on the NHS app. And this wasn't anyone's fault. This is just, unfortunately, technology being too good. And I got a notification on the NHS app saying, from the new doctor that I'd been referred to, saying, I've reviewed your latest scans and looking at this, I'm going to send you for liver transplant assessment.
It's very big news to get by
That's the first time you'd heard that it was that, at that moment, where they were suggesting liver transplant's the only way forward now.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, because it was just such a radical turn from...
Everything up until that point, they were saying that they would, like, treat and react to, you know, anything that happened. So that was quite a shock, I think. It
was definitely a shock, and I was quite frantic, got in touch with my doctor, and he said, I can only apologise. You know, I sent the letter, I pressed submit, and I expected I had a few days to give you a call before the letter reached you. I didn't think you were going to get a notification on the app. So, you know, it's no one's fault. It's just one of those things. Technology's too good nowadays. And, you know, I said to him, I don't understand because I feel perfectly well. You know, I sit here today, I could probably go for a run and I don't look like I'm not jaundiced.
You
don't
look very
like
healthy.
I need a liver transplant. And when I don't understand, he said to me, I understand that, but I wouldn't be having this conversation with you if I thought in 4 or 5 years' time that, you know, your liver would be OK. Now, there is obviously context to that. And the big thing is, you know, liver transplants are available today. They do, I think, 1 a day in the UK today, which is unbelievable. And, you know, with a liver transplant, I should go on to live a perfectly normal life. And look, I'm an optimist. I'm a positive person. I believe everything in life happens for a reason. There's a reason why it's happened. And, you know, I've gone on TV in previous times to talk about jovial things. So now's the time to use that platform to talk about something that can actually help people.
It's really, really important. Dr Nighat, it's a process that you're all too familiar with, of course.
Yes, and all this anxiety. So I was talking to Sam and Alice just off backstage. It's taken me right back to 2015 because my son Qasim has had a liver transplant. And a genetic condition similar to Sam's, actually, where for him, he just couldn't get rid of his bile salts. The liver is an extraordinary organ. It's an
regenerate, right?
Exactly. It's an ever-forgiving organ. It will regenerate, it will compensate and compensate. And with Qasim, he was compensating for a long time. He was jaundiced. He then, unfortunately, couldn't hold on to his sugar stores. He unfortunately started having bleeding from his nose and his mouth. And
he was only little.
He was very
wasn't
little.
he?
We got his diagnosis when he was about 6 weeks old. And then we got told that there was no hope, that the only way would be to put him on a transplant list when he was about 4 months old. The King's team, so King's College Hospital in London, which I know Sam is under us, are exquisitely professional. They're brilliant. So we have...
Amazing.
It's a huge team. So we had a transplant coordinator, we had the surgeons, we had the liver team, we had paediatricians, we had a dietitian. So it is the most effective, fantastic national team who managed the whole transplant journey. Qasim got his transplant when he was 11 months old. But once you're on the list, you have to keep your phone by you. There's that anxiety because you never know when the call will come. When they took out his liver for Qasim, the damage of the liver had been that he ended up getting hepatocellular carcinoma. Because one of the things with the liver is that when it tries to regenerate, because it's such a lovely organ, it tries to reheal. And as it tries to reheal, unfortunately, mistakes can happen. And those mistakes can multiply and multiply. And unfortunately, we were told at 6 weeks that he'll have a 50% chance of getting liver cancer and then a transplant. And it was always touch and go. How quickly do we get that transplant? Because it's a race against time, as Sam knows, because you want to be well enough to be on the list.
Yes, you've got to be
You've got to be fit enough to have the operation.
operation.
You've got to be able to tolerate the aftercare as well, because this is a huge surgery. You only get one liver, and you've got to make sure that it doesn't impact your heart, your spleen, your kidneys, the other organs in your body. So you've got to be able to be well enough to be on that. But the good thing is, Qasim is amazing. He is now 10 years old, and he will not forgive me if I say this, but he is now on the swim dive England team, and he's got a competition coming up on the 15th of November. So he does diving, and he lives an amazing, incredible, full life.
It has no impact now on his life?
So every year we get a scan of his liver. We get bloods 3 to 6 months, and we just keep an eye on it. He's on medications to suppress his immune system. So the biggest concern we have is making sure that the immunosuppressants don't affect him in regards to other infections, because as Sam has highlighted, unfortunately, you are prone to infections. And so we make sure that he's, getting his COVID vaccine, his flu vaccine. We make sure that we keep him protected as much as possible, and he's up to date with the medication as he grows.
As time is so critical in terms of sepsis, what are the signs, Nighat, just in case anybody needs to know what they are?
Of course, sepsis is very scary. I've gone through it twice with my son. He had to be in ITU, so we have to take it seriously. And it's the extremes of being unwell, but sometimes there can be subtle signs. So it could be either an extreme of temperature, so above 38, or actually being cold as well. So anything below 35, hands that are cold, sweating and panting excessively, wanting to drink so much water because you're feeling dehydrated when actually you're not. And sometimes you can have a rash that appears, and if you do the glass test over the skin and the rash does not disappear, then that is a sign of sepsis, and you must call 999, nowhere else, call 999, and it's emergency care. And it's making sure that we get to the person before they become that unwell.
Right.
So it's keeping an eye on how cold they feel, whether they're drowsy, whether they're talking in full sentences, are they passing urine, are they complaining of headaches? Are they complaining of full body pain? And that would be sort of those subtle signs that you're looking for, because it's really easy to say, oh, it's a bit of flu.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Which is what
happened.
Yeah.
Thank you for all that advice as well, Nighat, because it's hugely important. I think, Sam, one of the other things that you really want to talk about is the organ donor register as well. There were big changes in 2020.
Yes.
When it became an opt-out system rather than an opt-in system, which was just transformative just in terms of the number of people. But it's something that you could potentially be going onto the organ donor register, so you understand the importance of people talking about being on it with their families as well.
It's unbelievably important. Right now, in the UK, we've got 8,000 people on the transplant list, and that can be easily solved by everyone going on the NHS organ donor register and registering and confirming their choice today. And it could save lives. And there's a statistic which really, really hits home with me, and it is you're actually 2 to 3 times more likely to need a transplant than you are to have to be able to give an organ. So if you're willing to take an organ off of someone, surely that you should, be willing to donate your organ. I mean, that gets into a whole ethical debate, obviously, but yeah, I just think it's a thing that I really want to do, really, really help spread and raise awareness for a fantastic organisation. And, you'll be saving lives.
And your family obviously benefited as well.
Of course. And the NHS Blood and Transplant, I've done a lot of work with them over the years, and so when the law came in that everybody over the age of 18 is considered a donor unless you opt out, it's so important to share your wishes with your family.
Yes.
So, if you are on the list, and I've shared that difficult conversation, I know they're difficult, but on the NHS Blood and Transplant, there is actually tips and videos on how you start that difficult conversation about, I am on the transplant list, I want this much or, donated, this is what I want to happen. Because if your family don't know, when the transplant coordinators come to have a discussion with them, it makes it very tricky at that time of trauma to have those conversations. Hats off to the transplant coordinators in this country, because honestly, they are angels, absolutely. And I'm a recipient, and a recipient of the donor family who are literal heroes.
Of course.
Change lives.
Well, look, Sam, Alice, thank you for coming in and sharing what you're going through. Continued sort of positivity with what happens down the line.
Good luck, Alice,
and the
too, with the
pregnancy
baby.
as well.
Look gorgeous.
Oh,
Thanks,
hello.
Nighat.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.